Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavate Naistiki Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langate gire yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dina Karanam Paramanandam Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. So we will resume our discussion from Canto 4, Chapter 8, verse 23. And this is the concluding part of the instructions given by Suniti to Dhruva. So earlier we had seen that Dhruva being insulted by his stepmother Suruchi and observing that his father did not do anything to defend him, in anger and crying, he goes to his mother, and then his mother gives him wonderful instructions. He says that don't think ill of Suruchi or anybody else, because everything that is happening to you is because of your own karma, your own destiny. So don't blame anybody else. And in fact, she said that if you blame anybody else, that's bad. That will create more bad karma for you. So why do something that will make a bad situation worse? So take responsibility for what is happening to you. And then she also gives him the path of remediation, that surrender to Krishna, pray to him, and he is like a million mothers. So he is kind and compassionate and much more powerful. So he will fulfill all your desires. So we will continue from verse 23. Nanyam tataha padmapala salochana dukashiddam te mragayami kanchan yo mragyate hasta grihita padmaya shriyetare ranga vimraya manaya vimbragaya manaya. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune. But the goddess of fortune herself, with the lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. So in the previous verse 22 and in this verse 23, Suniti is making this point to Dhruva that there is no one but Lord Vishnu whose shelter he should take. So here she says, na anyam, that nobody else. And the reason, dukashiddam, that he can destroy all your distress. So Suniti is making a case of the worship of Lord Vishnu as opposed to the Devas. And the Devas may be easier to worship, or the reciprocation may be quicker. But Suniti is aware that they themselves are temporary and dependent on the Lord. So she gives the example of Brahma. So Brahma is the greatest of the Deva, and then she establishes an hierarchy. that Brahma worships Lakshmi Devi and Lakshmi Devi worships Vishnu. So you can understand the exalted position of Lord Vishnu. So Dhruva's pastime essentially is an example of that famous verse in the Bhagavatam that appears in the second canto. Akama sarvakamo vimoksha kamudadi tivrena bhakti yojena tivrena bhakti yogena tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusha param yajate purusha param. Sorry. So whether one has material desires, akam sarva karma moksha kamudadi, whether one is without desires or desiring liberation, all categories of people, they are recommended to surrender to the Lord for benedictions. Similarly, we see in the 7th canto, Krishna himself in the 16th verse, he says, 4 kinds of people, Chatubhaja Vijante Mam, Artho Jigyasura, Artharthi Gyani, right? These 4 kinds, they're all material desires, but they still come to me. And Krishna glorifies them, and that they're still dear to me. So the lesson is that even if one approaches Krishna with material desires, he fulfills them in a way that purifies the desires and instills bhakti. So even though when we look at pure devotional service, we say anubhilashita shunyam gyan karmadhyana avrittam, right? It should be devoid of any other desires. Now, that does not mean that if one has material desires, one does not perform devotional service. All that it means is pure devotional service is without material desires. But even with material desires, one can execute Mishra Bhakti. In fact, one should execute Mishra Bhakti. In the 8th canto, in the pastime of Lord Matsya, Maharaj Satyavrata, he makes this point that neither all the demigods, nor the so-called gurus, nor all other people, either independently or together, can offer mercy that equals even 1/10,000th of yours. Therefore, I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet. So Srila Prabhupada makes this point in the purport that a pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement. But it is situated in Bhagavad Gita, and here is quoting 7:16, that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Lord for material gain is gradually purified in the association with the Supreme Lord. Thus he becomes free from material desires. And then Srila Prabhupada glorifies Suniti. He says that Suniti is a far-seeing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. Okay, next verse, 24. So that is the instructions of Suniti to Dhruva. So let's see what Dhruva does now. So verse 24. Maitre uvacha evam sanjal pitam matu akarnyarthagamam vachah saniyam yatmanatmana nishkrama pitu purat. The great sage Maitreya continued. The instructions of Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti, was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. So in the next 10 verses, we will see Narad Muni testing the determination of Dhruva. In this verse, Maitreya is glorifying the words of Suniti as Artha Agamam. So Artha, as we know, Artha, it is something that gives benefit, and Artha Agamam is that one that gives ultimate benefit, real benefit. So there are four purusharthas, right? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These are called the four purusharthas that are desired for material gains by pious living entities. Suniti is giving instructions that go beyond these purusharthas. So they are called arthagama, that they are giving the real benefit. Essentially, they are directing Dhruva towards true devotional service, right? And the words of Bhagavatam are also like this, that in the Bhagavatam we see so many things. Some of them are glorifications of Krishna. Some of them are pastimes of those who are inimical to Krishna, right? We see Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu and Maharaj Vena and Duryodhan. So we see all these characters that are appearing that are inimical to Krishna. But ultimately they are all united in purpose, that through them the reader gets artha agamam, gets the real benefit. Now, Dhruva's position is also described over here, that earlier on he was very emotional. He was angry, he was crying. But now that we see that he has received these instructions from his mother, so after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, right? So it's not that he leaves the house in anger or in bewilderment, right? So he does it out of deliberation. So atmana, right? So with proper control of both. So it said saniyamya, that he's controlling both atmana and atmanam. He's controlling his mind that was bewildered by sorrow and anger and desire to take revenge, and atmanam, his own self, his own identity as a prince, as a son, as a child. He's saniyamya. He's controlling both of these. So sometimes children do this, that they're angry with their parents and they leave the house. And it's done more in childish immaturity. Somewhere in their mind, they are like, when I leave my house, then my parents will realize that how they're ill-treating me. Then they will come and then they will apologize to me and then I will forgive them. So it's all because of different kinds of immature consideration. Dhruva has set that aside, right? So he still wants remediation for his situation, but now he is purposefully approaching the solution. So he leaves the capital of his father's kingdom, which is Barasmati. So Barasmati is right now it's a small town called Vittur that is near Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. And then he heads out. So even though he heads out after deliberate consideration, but he does not really know where he will go or what he will do. Right? So his mother had just said that you go out and seek the Lord. So his firm and objective that I need to find the Lord, I need to take shelter of him. But he does not know either the what or the how. So earlier on, Suniti had said that the Lord is worshipped by those who are uh, living in seclusion. So he has some idea that forest, seclusion, away from the city. But other than that, he does not know. So Maitreya says that Nishkrama Pitu Purat, that he simply left the house of his father. The only thing that he had was his own determination. He did not go to see his father. He did not ask his mother to pack some food for him. He did not, he was a prince. He did not ask for guards to accompany him. Did not ask for the riding a horse to go swiftly, but simply with his determination and his intelligence, he leaves the house. Srila Prabhupada mentions that mere lamentation is useless. One should find out the means to mitigate one's lamentation. And this is an interesting statement that perhaps we can have a bit of a discussion. I would like to hear from you that at one point, the general theme that's being developed is, and Suniti has spoken that accept what is happening to you as the course of your destiny, right? So the underlying message is, don't be perturbed, don't be bewildered by what's happening to you. Understand that it is the product of your own activities in the past and accept it. On the other hand, now we see Dhruva also being instructed by the same person that you should remediate your situation. Don't accept what is happening, remediate the situation. And the most potent way to remediate is to go and take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So conflicting instructions. Accept your situation, remediate your situation. How do we reconcile them?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think we can look at it a different way as well. We know that karma. Okay, we don't know what was what he was in his previous birth. Like we know Narad Muni was a young child. His mother, was bitten by whatever happened. We know Narad Muni, but Dhruv we don't know. I don't know actually. Maybe you know. I don't know. The way we can say is, of course, part of his past karma, but I think there's a higher purpose behind this, because he's a prince, and he could have lead a life as a prince. Everything is glorious, but in this particular case, we are learning two different personalities: his mother and his stepmother. And both are gurus. One spoke very harshly, but she said she took you have to pray to Lord Narayan in order to take birth. That means she cited the word Narayan. And then his mother also, but not in a negative way, asking him to also go and look for Narayan. Both same instruction, but in a different way. And also, if he was a prince, he would have lead a very comfortable life. Sometimes there must be some turbulence in life so that you can dislodge, and go for a higher purpose. I think what I see here is this is what is happening. If this did not happen today, we won't be here to read this pastime as well. how it's glorious. A young boy like this, at this age, just left home without nothing, just and go and look for Lord Narayan, for Lord Vishnu. And then later we'll see how Narad Muni is a devotee that come and, interfere and guide him. But I like what Prabhupada said in the purport as well about the forest. He said for the devotees, the forest is Vrindavan. And when we go to Vrindavan, we take shelter of Srimati Radharani, who is the queen of Vrindavan. This is very interesting.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Yes, so to add to what Shang Prabhu said, that there is a so when adversities happen, then there are two things that a person could do. One is how does the person react to the adversity? And the second is, what does the person do about the adversity? One is internal, one is external. So the recommendation is that one should not lament upon the adversities, or one should not become bewildered, whether by grief or anger. In fact, that's the quality of a Kshudra. Right? In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is lamenting, then Krishna says, right, Kim klebhyam kshudram, that how have these qualities come to you, that you're simply lamenting by adversity. Prabhupada writes in the purport that the nature of the Shudra is that he will simply lament about the adversities but not do anything about it. The Brahmana, on the other hand, will not lament about the adversity but do something about it. So even though they accept that the fact that the adversities is the result of their own previous karma, they also understand that they have the power to change the course of the future by the current activities. And this is not even talking about bhakti. That's the nature of karma, because karma is changeable. Every moment karma is changing. So when people talk about the importance of accepting your culpability because of destiny, it is there to address your internal. It is not to make one fatalistic. One of the things that the Britishers did in early India was to describe the scriptures, the Vedas, as ones that promote fatalism. That everything is happening because of your past activity, so just accept it. Yes, accept it, but do something about it. And the opposite of it is you don't accept it, then internally you become agitated. You become bewildered. And then whatever you do will be tainted by that bewilderment. Right? When Jarasandha was insulted by the Pandavas, then he could not accept that insult. And so what he wanted to do was tainted by that bewilderment. Ultimately, it cost him his life. Similarly, Ashwathama, right? He could not accept the fact that they had killed his father. Arjuna, on the other hand, when Abhimanyu was killed, then internally he accepted the fact, yes, my son has been killed. Of course, he had Krishna to advise him, but he accepted the fact that so he accepted the fact that yes, because of the course of destiny, my son has been kill, but then he also set about to avenge the wrongful death. So this is what Dhruva is being advised, that don't become bewildered by the insults of Surichi, but still act to do something. Right? Important philosophical point that is being made over here. That how does one deal with destiny and your own activities? If you simply accept everything happening by the force of destiny, then does that make you fatalistic? Does that make you impotent? And whatever is happening was destined to happen, so be it. Right? Yes, accept that so that you don't get bewildered. But also know that karma is constantly changing. And if a person is fortunate to be a devotee, then know that for Krishna, karma is below the tip of his toe. Right? All he has to do is wriggle his toe and karma goes away. So both of them have to exist in their respective positions. So here we see that taking the instructions of Suniti, deliberating upon them with intelligence and determination, Dhruva leaves home. Now, another important point to note here is that the departure of Dhruva is as much an indication or more an indication of Suniti's dependence on the Lord. Right? So you think of yourself as a mother of a 5-year-old child, and the 5-year-old child is saying, I'm leaving home, heading to the jungle. Which mother will allow the child to go? Right? Go in the jungle, which is infested with dangerous animals, and the child is ill-equipped. All alone, the child is going. Suniti is practicing what she is preaching. She is telling Dhruva, you take shelter of Lord Vishnu. She has already taken shelter of Lord Vishnu. She is putting her son she's letting her son go on the faith that Lord Vishnu will take care. Dhruva does not have that conviction. The only conviction that he has is that whatever my mother is speaking is correct. But the mother is an adult. One might say Dhruva is a 5-year-old child. He does not even know what is lurking for him, what is there in the forest. Suniti knows. She knows that a child going alone in the forest will be attacked by predators. There are thieves and bandits. They might see that this is the son of a king and kidnap him. So many things can happen. So those who are mothers are very much aware of it, that the child is gone for a moment and the mother's heart is full of anxiety. And here Suniti herself is saying, go to the forest. Not because she's callous, not because she is whimsical, but she's demonstrating to Dhruva what she wants him to develop. That deep faith in the protection of Vishnu. So Prabhupada says that it is indicated in this connection that Dhruva Maharaj left his father's capital city to go to a secluded place to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the instruction of Prahlad Maharaj also that if one is seeking peace of mind, he should free himself from all contamination of family life and take shelter of the Supreme Godhead by going to the forest. To the Gaudiya Vaishnava, this forest is a forest of Vrinda or Vrindavan. If one takes shelter of Vrindavan, under Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, certainly all problems of life are solved very easily. So Dhruva is a perfect disciple. He takes the instruction of his mother as his own life and soul. He may not fully comprehend it, but he extracts the actionable essence. What is it that my mother is asking me to do? Right. So it is said that what is faith? Faith is taking the next step without knowing that there is ground over there. Right? You imagine that you're in a place that is in deep darkness. There's no light over there. And you're on a mountaintop where anytime there may be deep ravines there. And you're taking the next step, not knowing if the next step is going to land on a rock or it may plunge you down to the valley. That is faith, right? Faith is taking a step without knowing that there is land there. So that is Dhruva. That is what Dhruva is doing. Not knowing where it's going to lead him, but knowing that this is what his mother is instructing him to do, he follows. So this is the most admirable quality of Dhruva. That the determination with which he follows the instructions of those that he has faith in. Verse 25. Naradastad upakarnya gyatpatasya chikeshitam sprishtva murdhanya ghanena anina prahavismitaha. The great sage Narad overheard this news, and understanding all the activities of Dhruva Maharaj, he was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva and, touching the boy's head with his all virtuous hand, he spoke as follows. So Narad Muni now appears. So one thing that you will note is that in all the 12 cantos of the Bhagavatam, Narad Muni is there. There are personalities that appear in one canto and not in the other. But Narad Muni is one personality that beginning from the first canto. So we see in the first canto he's appearing, he's preaching to Vyasadeva. When Vyasadeva is feeling dispirited. In the second canto, he appears questioning Brahma about the creation, which results in Brahma sharing about his conversation with Lord Narayan, and the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam is spoken. In the third canto, we see Narad Muni being described as being born as the deliberation of Brahma. And then in third canto, he also appears giving direction to Hiranyaksha, where to find Lord Varadev. And he also goes and glorifies Kardam Muni to Devahuti to instill love in her for Kardam Muni. In the fourth canto, we see that here is appearing here, and actually he appears in quite a few places. He appears in the fourth canto in the context of Dhruva Maharaj, the Prachetas, the Prachina Bharis. So quite a prominent role he plays. He directs the Prachetas to Lord Shiva, and Rudra Gita is spoken. He speaks the allegorical pastime to Maharaj Prishnabhari, which results in his emancipation. In the fifth canto, we see that he appears as preaching to Priyavrata, the elder brother of Uttarpa. And he is also glorified as the author of the Narad Pancharatra. Then in the sixth canto, we see him interacting with Daksha. So Daksha has sons, and he goes to the sons and makes them brahmacharis, and then he's cursed by Daksha. We also see Narad Muni coming and preaching to Maharaj Chitraketu when his son Harshashok is poisoned by the stepmothers. In the seventh canto, he has, just like the third and fourth canto is conversation between Maitreya and Vidur, the seventh canto is conversation between Narad Muni and Yudhishthira. So he's all over there in the seventh canto. In the eighth canto, we see him appearing at the time of the big battle after the Sagar Manthan, when the Devas and the Asuras are fighting, and the Devas start killing the Asuras. Then Narad Muni appears and says, just stop this, no more killing. And out of respect for Narad Muni, the Devas stopped. In the ninth canto, we see him instructing Harishchandra to how to get a son. And then we also see him speaking to Urvashi, the Apsara Urvashi. He glorifies Pururava and instills love in Urvashi's heart, and then she goes and marries Pururava. And then the dynasty, the Kshatriya dynasty, the Soma dynasty comes from there. 10th canto, Krishna is there, Narada is there. He's all over the 10th canto. He's speaking to Kamsa, he's speaking to Kalyavan. Several times he comes, he's giving messages here and there. 11th canto, we see him instructing actually Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, about spiritual advancement. He also speaks about the Bhikshu Gita there. And in the 12th canto, he appears once again, several times he appears in the 12th canto, describing the disciplic succession. And he appears as one of the primary contributors of spiritual knowledge. So Bhagavatam is about Bhakti, Narad Muni is the personification of Bhakti. So it is natural that just like Bhakti is present all over the Bhagavatam, Narad Muni is also present all over the Bhagavatam. So here Narad Muni appears. And Upakarnya. So Upa means close by, Karnya means heard. So Upakarnya means that he heard from close by, and Gyatva, and he had knowledge about what had happened to Dhruva Maharaj. So one way to understand it is that the news of Dhruva Maharaj leaving quickly spread, and Narad Muni heard. Another way of understanding is that Narad Muni already knows everything. So Gyatva, he's Trikalagya, so he already knows everything. Third way of understanding is that he was inspired by the Lord from within. So the reciprocation of the Lord to those who are seeking him out is sending a guru to the person. Right? Many times when people are starting out in Krishna consciousness, they keep asking this question, that who's my guru, and who should I approach, etc., etc. And actually, as soon as a person becomes interested in Krishna consciousness, Krishna begins to make arrangements for him by sending his representative. That is the Lord's reciprocation. So when Dhruva became interested in seeking out Lord Vishnu inspired Narad Muni from within, and Narad Muni, being very closely connected with the Lord, understands the desire of the Lord, and he seeks out Dhruva. So we see that also throughout the Bhagavatam, right? When the sages wanted to hear Krishna Katha, Sutta Goswami came. When Parikshit Maharaj was sitting on the banks of the Ganges, fasting and wanting to hear Krishna Katha, Sukdev Goswami came. When Vyasadeva was feeling sad, Narad Muni came. When the Prachetas went out looking for some form of perfection, Lord Shiva came. First Narad Muni came, then Lord Shiva came. When Chitraketu was bewildered at the loss of his son, Narad Muni came. When Yudhishthir was lamenting at the disappearance of Dhritarashtra, Narad Muni came. So the Lord's first reciprocation to the sincere desires of a jiva seeking out his shelter is sending a spiritual master his way. After that, it is up to the person to accept the spiritual master, accept the instructions, and make further advancements. So Narad Muni comes and Sprishva Murdhanya, that he touches the head of Dhruva with his right hand. So this is a traditional way by which elders give benediction to those who are young. That they touch the head with the right hand, Sprishva Mudani. And Maitreya says that the effect of that was Aghagnena, that it eradicated all the sins from Dhruva. So when a spiritual master accepts a disciple, the spiritual master eradicates all the prior sins, so that the disciple is now ready to perform devotional service. That's what Narad Muni did for Dhruva Agagnena, that he eradicated all the sins. So one might ask, that Dhruva is only 5 years old. Not likely that he had committed many sins. But the understanding here is that all the piety and the impiety that he had accrued from his previous lives were eradicated. So in the Vishnu Puran, it is mentioned that Dhruva was a Brahman in his previous life, a very pious Brahman. And over a certain period of time, he became friendly with a king. And as he developed more friendship with the king, he began to associate more and more with the king. Now, as a Brahman, he was living a very austere life. That's the nature of Brahmins, that they do not accumulate wealth. But then, seeing the opulence of his friend, Dhruva developed this desire to enjoy that opulence. So that desire stayed latent in his heart, which is why even at such a young age, at only 5 years of age, his desire is I want extraordinary opulences, samskars, right? These are impressions from previous lifetimes. Because small boy, what would he have known? He does not even comprehend the extent of his father's kingdom, let alone the kingdom of Swambhavu Manu, let alone the kingdom of Brahma. But samskars, these are the impressions that they carry. So Narad Muni, by his accepting Dhruva, at this point Narad Muni, even though there has not been an initiation yajna and he hasn't spoken the 4 regulative principles or got the Kantimala, but Narad Muni has accepted Dhruva as his disciple. He has taken away his sins. So Maitreya says that praha means that Narad first spoke to himself, which is another way of saying that he introspected, he thought, right? So he approached Dhruva with Vismitaha. So Smita means, so we have one of the deities is Smita Krishna. Smita means smiling. And Vismita is opposite of that, which means bewildered. So in a mood of bewilderment, Narad Muni speaks to himself. Bewilderment is a little bit of an extreme word, but in a mood of being surprised or appreciating something extraordinary. And we'll see that in the next word. What is it that he's appreciating? But Vismita Praha, that in the mood of being surprised, Narad Muni speaks to himself. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that explains this, that how Krishna's sense is representative to one, because he's present in everyone's heart, both of one who is seeking and the one who's giving shelter. So as Paramatma, when he's in the heart, when he sees that somebody is seeking sincerely, then as Paramatma in the heart of a bona fide guru, he will inspire that bona fide guru to extend his shelter. Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Teach. And of course, the opposite also happens. That when somebody within the heart is is seeking a fake guru, then a fake guru will approach. Krishna says that, well, I'm not sure Krishna says that, Srila Prabhupada would say that if one wants to be cheated, then there will be always somebody around to cheat you. So this is the super soul connection. Okay. So we'll do 2 more verses and then we'll pause for any discussion. Verse 26. Aho tej kshatriyanama manabhangam amrasatyam balopya ayam hridadhatte yat samatu rasadvachaha. How wonderful are the powerful Kshatriyas! They cannot tolerate even a slight infringement upon their prestige. Just imagine, this boy is only a small child, yet harsh words from his stepmother proved unbearable to him. So this is the surprise, the Vismita that was spoken about in the previous verse. So the verse starts with Aho. So Aho is basically, it's translated as how surprising, but it's essentially a vocative. It just indicates extreme, like Aho Bato Yad Kam, that how merciful Krishna is, or how tolerant devotees are. So here Narad Muni is saying, Aho Teja, that what is this power of the Kshatriyas? Manabhangam Amrasatam, that Manabhangam, that they cannot tolerate an insult, Manabhangam, right? So that's the nature of Kshatriyas, that they cannot tolerate an insult, and then they will never retreat from a battle. So one may say that to Narad Muni, that why are you so surprised by that? Nobody likes to be insulted. Nobody can tolerate an insult. So then Narad Muni clarifies that he says Balu api, but this is just a child, and he has ayam hridadate, that he is firmly caught upon this anger against the insult, because children by nature, they don't even recognize insults, or even if they recognize an insult, they let it go, right? So if somebody goes and tries to insult a child, the child will not even understand that this person is trying to insult me. They'll just laugh or ignore. Or if the insults are very, very specific, then the child may recognize that he's being insulted, cry a little bit, but in a few minutes he'll be back to playing, all completely forgotten. So Narad Muni is saying that this is Kshatriya. Even a child, Balopi, even a child, Ayam Hridadate, has firmly got hold of this insult. So Vishwanath Chakravarti said the use of dhate indicates an active participation. It was not that the words of Suruchi stayed with Dhruva. He was actively holding on to them. Right? There's a difference. That one may be insulted by somebody else and would be trying to move away from that insult. Let me not think about it. But then, even without the person not trying to think about it, the words might come again. And then the person will push it away. Let me not think about it. It's not helping. Dhruva is not doing that. He's actively holding on it. Vishnu Chakravarti says that, and this is Sanskrit I don't understand, but he says that the word dhate is in saptam matra, which indicates that Dhruva is actively holding on to it. replaying it over and over in his mind, which is what is Vismita, which is surprising Narada Muni. Srila Prabhupada explains that even though one is not born into a varna, by the influence of samskar, one acquires the characteristics of a varna. So the other aspects so Prabhupada is saying that, is explaining that how can Narad Muni, or one might say that how can Narad Muni say that Dhruva is a Kshatriya? Because we say that by birth, nobody has a varna. The varnas, they develop by one's propensities. So Prabhupada explains that is true. But varna also means that according to one's own swabhav, one is attracted to the womb of a mother in a similar situation. So those who have Brahmanical swabhav are attracted to the wombs of Brahmanical parents. And because Dhruva had a strong Kshatriya swabhav, he was attracted to a Kshatriya family. And the second part that Srila Prabhupada says is that right from the beginning, and this is Vedic times, samskars are performed. Right from Garbhoda samskar to Jati samskar to all the other samskars. So these samskars are different for different varnas. And they're meant to instill the corresponding nature of that varna. So because of swabhav and samskar, one begins to acquire the characteristics of the varna even before the person is fully manifesting them consciously. That's why there is an affinity to the varna that one has by birth and that one acquires because of these two reasons. Next verse, and then we can pause for discussion. Narad vacha nadunapyavamanam te samanam vapi putraka lakshama kumarasya saktasya kridanadishu. The great sage Narad told Dhruva, my dear boy, you're only a little boy whose attachment is to sports and other frivolities. Why are you so affected by words insulting your honor? So, first words of Narad Muni, that Kumarasya, that you are a young boy. Actually, he's not even reached the stage of Kumar. Right? He's still Bala. He's still 5 years old. But Narad Muni is saying notionally Kumarasya, and at this stage, Shaktasya. So what is your Ashakti? What is your attachment? Kridanadishu. That playing. So Narad Muni says, I do not see that at this time you should feel honored, samanam, or disrespect, avamanam. Now, Narad is speaking this with a lot of affection. He addresses Dhruva as Putrak. He says, my dear son. So, imputed conversation here is Narad goes to Dhruva and says that, where are you going? And Dhruva says that, I have been insulted by my stepmother. So answering this implicit statement by Dhruva, Narad Muni states that you're a small child and you're not mentally mature to recognize praise or insult. So it's not good for you to act upon something that you don't even understand. Right now, your attachment is to is to kridanadishu, is to playing. That's what you should focus on. There's no need for you to get angry. According to some other commentators, they say, and these are all imputed conversations, that Narad Muni at this point is also, he's assuring Dhruva Maharaj that I can see that you have been insulted by Uttanpad and Suruchi. But Uttanpad is also my disciple. Now, Uttanpad also had this position of taking instructions from Narad. So Narad Muni is saying that don't worry, your father is my disciple. So come with me. So he extends his hand and asks Dhruva to catch his hand and say, come with me, I will take you back. I will personally talk to Uttanpad. I will instruct him not to make this mistake again. In fact, I will ask him to pick you up and put him on his lap right away. And the commentator says that Dhruv at this point says, I have no desire to sit on the lap of my father anymore. And then conversation flows after that. So I'll pause over here, see if you have any thoughts or comments so far.
Just one thought, Prabhu. When you were talking about Narad Muni is in the whole Bhagavatam, and he is also in the Prabhupada pastime. Prabhupada mentioned a few times that Narad Muni is here. Bring a chair. And, when he was doing kirtan, I don't know, I've read this a few places, that Narad Muni was with him so many times.
That's true. That's true. I think the one that you're referring to is that his disciples had arranged a program for him, and either in LA or San Francisco. And it was or maybe I forget the place, but it was supposed to be a really big program. A lot of flyers had gone out, and they had booked a big hall. And when Prabhupada came, and there were like 4 or 5 people only over there. So there was some error in judgment that they were either a competing program or something happened, but very few people don't. And Srila Prabhupada, regardless, he did his kirtan, did his lecture. And then he was going away, and the disciples were embarrassed, and they went to Prabhupada. And they said, Prabhupada, we're so sorry that there were so few people. Prabhupada said, what? Didn't you see Narad Muni? He was there. Prabhupada was very happy there. So this incident is, one is that Prabhupada had the vision that he could see that Narad Muni was there. And then the more philosophical aspect, that whenever there is conversations about Bhakti, Narad Muni gets very attracted. And then he lingers over there and he hears and appreciates. That's why, because Bhagavatam is all about Bhakti, Narad Muni is all over the Bhagavatam. Very attracted to Bhakti. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, we can proceed. There are no questions or comments. Verse 28. Vikalpe vidyamane pi nahay asantoshayetavaha shamoham mrita bhinna yalloke nijya karmabhi. My dear Dhruva, if you feel that your sense of honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. This kind of dissatisfaction is another feature of the illusory energy. Every living entity is controlled by his previous actions. And therefore, there are different varieties of life for enjoying and suffering. Very similar to what Suniti had told Dhruva, that praise and insult or happiness and distress, for every living entity, they're controlled by his previous actions, karma, right? And another feature of the illusory energy, so karma essentially is a material creation, and also suffering is the real feature of the illusory energy. Taking those adversities to heart and becoming bewildered by that, that is the real function of the illusory energy. So Narad Muni is saying that vikalpa vidyamanapi, that opposites will exist, even though opposites will exist, the asantosha, the cause of dissatisfaction is moha. It is illusion. That is nija karma bhi. That not understanding that all this is produced because of my own activities, right? That is the moha. So understanding this, one becomes free of envy. So Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that a jnani does not make any difference between honor and dishonor. The karmis and the bhaktas, they do make this distinction. But understanding that it is only because of their prior actions, the nij karma bhi, they become free of envy. Now, this verse spoken by Narad Muni is in stark contrast to the previous verse he spoke. Previous verse, he's treating Dhruva as a child, right? He's saying that as a child, don't get angry with all these things. You're attracted to playing. Go back home. I'll take you home. Come on. No need to cry. Now all of a sudden, he's speaking deep philosophy to Dhruva. Right? So he's talking about karma, he's talking about maya, he's talking about conditioned soul, deep philosophy to a 5-year-old. So essentially, what is happening, what the acharyas say is happening, is that Narad Muni earlier on approached Dhruva in a mood of him being a child. But Dhruva did not reciprocate to that mood. Right? When Narad Muni says, come on, I'll take you home, Dhruva did not raise his hand, catch hold of Narad Muni's finger and said, okay, take me home. Right? He stays determined. So Narad Muni is now reciprocating to the mood of Dhruva. So he is saying that, my dear child, if you are taking the position of a child, then children should not take honor and dishonor very seriously. However, since you are not taking that position, if you consider yourself mature enough to understand honor and dishonor, then you should also be mature enough to understand that this is all the results of your own previous activities. So in either case, you should not be affected by this. If you're acting as a child, then children are not affected by honor and dishonor, so you should go home. If you're acting as an adult, then philosophically you should know that it is a result of your own activities, so you should not be affected by it. And so Prabhupada makes this point in the purport, where he says that Narad, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child and should not be affected. Then Prabhupada said, if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should also be applied to his own life. He should know that honor and dishonor are both destined by one's previous activities. Therefore, you should not be sorry or happy. Okay, let's see what else Narad Muni says. Vrityushe tatastata dhavan matrena purusha Daivopasaditam vayavad viksheshvara gatim buddha. The process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept that process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, by his supreme will. Now, we see here the preaching of a devotee. What does a devotee do? One way or the other, he gets the person's attention to Krishna. So, while Narad Muni is speaking what is known as karma mimoksha, which is saying that everything that is happening is because of your own karma. But obviously, Narad Muni is not an impersonalist, right? Karma mimoksha says that don't worry about God. Even if there is God, he is secondary to karma. Everything is happening because of your own activities, and actually God is helpless because he is forced to give you the good and bad results of your own activities. So they say, don't worry about God. So Narad Muni may apparently be preaching karma mimoksha, but we see that very quickly he is getting the attention of Dhruva to Krishna. He says the process of the personality of Godhead is wonderful. And everything is happening by his supreme will. So even though he's asking Dhruva to accept destiny, he's also putting this connection over there. That this law of karma has been put in place by Krishna. So what's the implicit seed that is laying in Dhruva's mind? That if Krishna has laid the law of karma, he can change it also. That while Dhruva may be controlled by the law of karma, Krishna is not controlled by the law of karma. So at any time he wants, he can change it. But he's not making that point now. He's simply saying that this law of karma is infallible because it has been put by the personality of Godhead. Right? So Dhruva may say that fine, my current insult is because of my karma, but I want to reverse it. And Narad is saying you cannot. Apparently, he's saying that you cannot, because it is infallible, because the infallible Lord has put it in place. Right? And the second point that he's also making is that because he says the Supreme Lord is very wonderful, which means that he's giving this instruction to Dhruva that if the law of karma has been put by the personality of Godhead, you should understand that it is for your benefit, which is true. Right? The law of karma is not so much to punish us, more so to rectify us. Right? So it gives us an opportunity to repent and repair. So he's making this point to Dhruva that the personality of Godhead is wonderful. He's put this law of karma. It's for your benefit. You tolerate it, and everything will be okay. So these are some of the highest level of instructions that Narad is giving, which are being completely unappreciated by Dhruva at this point of time. However, what we will see is he will keep these instructions in his heart, and then 6 months later, when he matures in his devotional service, he will fully appreciate these instructions. So this is the potency of bhakti and the skill of the preacher. Narad Muni did not reject Dhruva because of his material desires. Right? Narad Muni did not look at him and say that Bhakti has to be without any material desires, and Dhruva has material desires. So Bhakti is not the thing for him, so rejected, right? He extracts the most relevant quality from Dhruva, which is two qualities he extracts. One is determination, and the second is his desire to seek the Lord. He uses these two qualities in the current situations to allow Dhruva to make advancements. So essentially what Narad is, as I said, he's giving the same instruction that Suniti has given, that Suruchi is not the cause of your dishonor. You yourself are the cause of it. So there's no reason for you to be angry at Suniti or at Suruchi or Utanpad. If your destiny is not allowing you to take the lap of your father, just accept it, because there is nothing that you can do to change it. So the Acharya said that Narad Muni is speaking what is known as Saman Niti to see the determination of Dhruva. So for some, this may be Amritupadesh. Right? A person who is suffering from a lot of material anxiety, when he hears this and takes it to heart, that my situation is because of my past activities and this law of karma has been put by the Lord and it is actually for my benefit, then it will pacify that. Dhruva is not affected by this. And the reason is because he is destined to achieve greater things. Okay, let's go to next verse, 30. Atha matro padishtena yogena varururtasi yat prasadam savai pumsham durardhayo mato mama. Now you have decided to undertake the mystic process of meditation under the instruction of your mother, just to achieve the mercy of the Lord. But in my opinion, such austerities are not possible for any ordinary man. It is very difficult to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Narad Muni, seeing that Dhruva is not accepting his philosophical recommendations, is now trying to dissuade him about. So Dhruva might say that all this philosophy, I don't accept it. So Narad Muni is saying, what's the alternative for you? Dhruva says that I'll go to the jungle and perform meditation as my mother has said. So Narad is saying that not possible for you to do it. So he's going on a different track, right? He's saying that fine, you don't accept your destiny. You want to extract revenge from those who have wronged. And for that you want the favor of the Lord. He says, but Mato Mama. Mato Mama means that I know, this is my opinion, I know that this is a very difficult process. It is not possible for all people, Savai Pumsham, right? We say Savai Pumsham Paro Dharma, that for all people the highest dharma is Yato Bhakti Radho Sajay. Here it is used in the opposite way. Savai Pumsham, he says that for all the people, Duradhya Matomama, that very, very difficult for them to perform this process of meditation of the Lord. So you are a child. You are further handicapped. I'm talking about adults. I'm talking about people who are practicing for a long time. For them, it's very difficult. You're just a 5-year-old child. So for you, it is impossible. And in a broader perspective, this also is one of the obstacles that devotees will face in their life or have faced in their life as they progress in bhakti. Many people will come and discourage them. If the person is a child, they will say, you're too young to do all this. And if the person is a young man or a young woman, they will say that right now you have so many responsibilities. Your parents, your spouse, your children, not time for you to take bhakti. And when the person is old, then they will say, all your life you have acted in a certain way. How is it possible for you to change? So just do whatever your comfort zone is. Right? So at all stages, there are people who will dissuade one from bhakti, just like Narad is dissuading Dhruva from bhakti, saying that you're just a child, not the right time for you. Later on, you can do it, but not the right time. Now, factually speaking, any time and every time is suitable to take to bhakti, right? Even before you're born, Prahlad Maharaj took to bhakti. As a small child, Dhruva took to bhakti. Then with all responsibilities, Valmiki took to bhakti. Right? He was a grahastha. He was supporting his wife and son, and he took to bhakti. In all situations, we see Mrigrari, such a sinful life. Like if he had gone to his fellow hunters and said that I would like to take to bhakti, they would say, come on, all your life you have been killing animals in such a cruel way. Right? But Mrigrari took to bhakti. You know, when your death is imminent, you can take to bhakti, as in the case of Parikshit Maharaj. Just at the moment of, just before death, Maharaj Khatwanga took to bhakti. Like he was told you have a moment to live, he performed devotional service. Now, when you're dying at the actual moment of death, you can take to bhakti, as the case of Ajamel. And after death, you can take to bhakti. Putna, right? She died, and after death, she took to bhakti. So, right from the situation of before birth to after death, you can take bhakti and perfect bhakti. And Bhagavatam gives us examples of all the situations. So Narad Muni is dissuading Dhruva Maharaj. Prabhupada says is Guru testing the determination of a disciple. So this is to make sure that the Guru does not waste his time on a capricious disciple. Prabhupada says this is the process of accepting a disciple. The great sage Narad has come to Dhruva under the directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to initiate him. Yet he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. The Prabhupada is negating the comment of Narad Muni. Narad Muni is saying it's very difficult, and Prabhupada is saying this is just testing. One should not take it sincerely. One should not quote this verse and say that Narad Muni says that devotional service is very difficult. Prabhupada says it is difficult for those who are insincere. But for a sincere person, it is very easy. Next verse, 31. Muniya padavim yasya neha sange naru janmabhi na vidur mrigayantupi tivra yoga samadhina. Narad Muni continued. After trying this process for many, many births and remaining unattached to material contamination, placing themselves continually in trance and executing many types of austerities, many mystic yogis were unable to find the end of the path of God realization. So, how difficult is this path? Narad Muni is elaborating on it, right? So he gives 5 disqualifications of Dhruva in executing devotional service. Implicitly, 5 disqualifications. So he says, Munya, that great sages have tried and failed. You are born in a Kshatriya family. Then he says, Niyasangena, that people were completely detached, unlike you, who is so attached to personal honor and dishonor. Then he says, Tibra Yoga, severe austerities. You are a child, you cannot perform those kind of austerities. Then Samadhina, that Samadhina is Samadhi, trance. So he says, you are not, Dhruva, you are not practiced in the process of Astanga Yoga. You cannot perform Samadhi. And Uru Janmadhi, after many, many births, they have failed. And you are aspiring to exceed your ancestors in this very birth. Right? So 5 disqualifications he is giving to Dhruva using the Kaimutya Nyaya. That when such people who are much more qualified than you, who are Munya, sages, who are Niyasangena, completely detached, Tivra Yoga, performing severe austerity, Samadhina, that they are in Samadhi, Uru Janmabhi, many, many births. They have failed to achieve the Lord. What hope is there for you? Okay, I'll do one more verse and then we'll pause for any discussion. Ato nivrattatamesha nirbandhastav nishphalaha yatishati bhavan kale shreyasham samupasthite. For this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. Right? So Narad Muni is now concluding. Right? So that's why he says that ato nivrittamesha. That for all these reasons that I have given you, nirbandhastava nishfal. That your determination, your nirbandhas is going to be nishfal. It's not going to yield any results. So Dhruva might say, so there is no hope for me? No, there is hope. Yatishanti. That in future, Bhavan Kali, in due course of time, he said that, Shreya Sham Samupasthite. That when the opportunity comes, then you can attempt this, not now. Right? So taking away, so this is a trick of psychology, that taking away somebody's goal can actually make the person more determined. That I will acquire this goal, right? If the person has that obstinate mentality and you take away that person's goal, you become even more determined. But pushing the goalpost down, that pacifies the person. The person says, yeah, he's actually right. I'm still going to achieve my result, but not now. Later on, when I'm better situated, when I'm young and strong, I have been trained in Astanga Yoga, then I will go and I will do that. So it's very, it convinces the mind to basically take that path, right? So we see that Narad has given several reasons for Dhruv not to perform bhakti as per Lokaniti. So Lokaniti means that this is what people say. General people, Narad is taking that role. Later on, we will see that despite all these apparent disqualification, Dhruva does succeed in his endeavor. So in that way, what we can understand that all these disqualifications that are given by Narad to Dhruva is a way for Narad to tell that these apparent disqualifications should never be considered as impediments to bhakti. Important point, right? So while Narad is testing Dhruva, the points that he's making are valid points. He's not manufacturing those points. When we go through the pastime completely, we'll see that Dhruva does succeed. Now, that does not negate these points that Narad Muni has made, but it puts them in a different light. That for one who is determined to take shelter of the Lord, any and all disqualifications become immaterial. Powerful preaching point that is extracted from this Leela. So, so Maitreya will acknowledge that these instructions are sadvachana, that they are meant for real welfare. Prabhupada says that the great Sri Narad instructing Dhruva Maharaj just to test him. The direct order is that from any point of life, one should undergo devotional service. But it's the duty of the spiritual master to test the disciple. So Vishnu Chakravarti says that Nishphala also means complete results. So Narad in a subtle way is conveying to Dhruva that if you follow this process with determination, nirbandhas, then your results are completely assured. Nishphala. So play on the Sanskrit. So Acharyas also say that these verses of Narad should not be taken out of context and quoted to indicate that one should only take spirituality at a certain age, or one should have all these pre-qualifications to take to bhakti. If that is true, then Narad would not have instructed to Dhruva Maharaj. Narad would not have preached to Prahlad Maharaj. Narad would not have spoken to Mrigari, right? Because it's clear that his actions are different and one should take them in a complete context. Okay, so let me pause here. I think I went a little bit over time. If there's any comments or realizations. If not, then we'll pause here. We'll resume next week. Vanchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanand. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.